The James Show Podcast.
Well, there's another round of boycotts you need to know about. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. This time in the sights of the politically concerned are Home Depot and Spotify. Now, the Home Depot one might be kind of obvious. It's like, why would someone boycott Home Depot? Well, who hangs out in front of Home Depot? Exactly. And so where have a bunch of ICE raids been? And what are they cooperating or... Exactly. So here's Chelsea Handler, famed comedian, former late-night talk show host, Chelsea Handler, explaining the boycott of both Home Depot, but Spotify?
My last week's video about my Home Depot boycott, there were a couple of questions in my messages or comments, and one was, Chelsea, did you get a lip flip? And the answer to that is, no. The second question was, Chelsea, have you ever been inside a Home Depot? And the answer to that is, yes, I have, many, many years ago, and luckily it looks like I'll never have to set foot in one again. But also, my house is under construction, so it's a perfect time for a larger boycott to Home Depot. If you scroll through my carousel, there's more information on Home Depot, and there's going to be a mass protest at all the Home Depots on 11/1, November 1st, which is Day of the Dead. And I'm also going to double down on my boycott, and I'm now boycotting Spotify. I've deleted Spotify from all of my stuff, from my phone, from my iPads. They are running ICE recruitment ads, and I am really disgusted watching any of these companies profit off of ICE. So the only way to get their attention is to boycott them. I hope you'll join me.
You're boycotting Spotify because they're running ICE ads. You know, when we were watching football yesterday, I say we, I assume you were watching football like a good American, like a good little Texan. No, but during football, a lot of people noticed that there were ICE recruitment ads, $50,000 signing bonus, and get to whip Mexicans or whatever. I'm kidding. You don't really... That was a reference to the scandal where they were accused of whipping people when they were on horseback or whatever. But you're boycotting Spotify for taking money from ICE to run ads. Good Lord. You can't even run ads for enforcing the law. Was there any ire from Chelsea Handler about ICE when Barack Obama deported 5 million people? I mean, that's the most people any president's ever deported. He is the deporter-in-chief. He even bragged about being the deporter-in-chief. No ire against ICE. No ripping families apart. No mass secret police. Were they even wearing masks? Do you even know? Did you even care? Did you even look? So whenever you see people act like this, you know that they're not boycotting Home Depot because they're concerned about the plight of illegal immigrants or they're concerned about deportations. They are only concerned or pretend to be concerned about deportations or the plight of illegal immigrants when they're told to be concerned. Like I remember a guy calling in one day saying he's concerned about police violence against black people. And I said, no, you're not. You're not concerned about police violence against black people at all. Only when you're told to be concerned about police violence with police violence against black people. Because out of it's not a lot, but there's about, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 25 or 30 deaths a year. It fluctuates because it's such a small number of stories about cops who shot and killed an unarmed black man. But you only really get upset about 2 or 3 of them a year. Why? Because those are the ones you were told to get upset about. You don't just sit there listening to the police wire. You don't just sit there checking the deportation numbers, and when it gets too high, you're upset. You don't care if kids are put in cages. You just care if kids are put in cages when the other guy's in office. You didn't care when Obama was in office. You didn't care when Biden was in office. There was kids in cages in Trump 1.0, and now it's even worse. Gestapo during Trump 2.0. I don't buy it. Nobody buys it. So Chelsea Handler boycotting Home Depot. And now we got another date here. If you were listening to the whole show, do you remember when I was telling you about the EBT Day of Action? There's a attempted movement that's trying to go viral where they're saying on November 3rd, we all go. If you got your food stamps cut, you go to the nearest Walmart at 6:30, you do all your shopping, and at 7:30 with your baskets loaded, we all walk out at the same time, and they can't stop all of us. Well, that's going to be 2 days after the November 1st. So you heard Chelsea say, we have a day of national protest November 1st against Home Depot. What the hell has Home Depot done? Oh, I'm sorry. What are we supposed to do? Throw bricks at ICE agents? When law enforcement officers come here and they arrest people who are here illegally, you're ticked at Home Depot for allowing them to do it? How dare you allow law enforcement officers to, let me check my notes here, enforce the law. Yeah, you guys make a lot of sense. Chelsea Handler, you weren't going to go to Home Depot anyway. You're a millionaire living in your second home in Aspen, Colorado right now, so you can go skiing early. You live a great life. You don't have any kids. You're just a political shill. You weren't going to go to Home Depot. And funny enough, that when you try and call for a boycott of Home Depot, there's going to be a lot of people who need to go to Home Depot that day, and they're illegal aliens. What do you think they're going to do? Yeah, well, Chelsea told me this millionaire lady in her ski lodge in Aspen said that I should just not go to work today, not continue working on my job, not go get any supplies so I continue doing my job. It ain't going to happen. Listen, I am signed up on a few email lists, and I follow some Facebook groups, and I'm in some Discord servers and whatnot. There's not a real national day of Home Depot protests for 11/1 that's going to have any big effect. They know that they can't do that. I hate Dart with the hot heat of 1,000 suns. Okay? That's where I'm at now. Do we all have kind of a good grasp of where I stand and my thoughts on one of the probably the biggest waste of money in North Texas history? I mean, this is past the Cowboys Stadium. This is past the Cotton Bowl. This is past pretty much every stupid, terrible idea that we've ever tried. And they just can't stop expanding the bad ideas. In this one, it's the Dart Silver Line. Now, listen, I'm going to kind of crush the optimism and the cheery nature of this report, but I do not fault WFAA for their happy reporting, because they put in there, like Dart says, Dart people claim, some people say. And so WFAA never takes like a stance where they're pro this Dart line or pro Dart themselves, but they do pass along without any pushback from the other side about this. That is my complaint, but let's just hear what they had to say about it. This happened over the weekend. If you're not, does everyone know what the Silver Line is? No? Well, good. I'll tell you. It goes from Plano to DFW International Airport. And so good. We're taking tax monies from the, super affluent people of Pleasant Grove and giving it to the poor, undertrodden people of Plano so they can get a cheaper, more convenient ride to fly on an airplane, something only 12% of us are rich enough to do on a yearly basis. So what the hell is this? We're giving corporate lawyers and tax accountants and people who can afford a ride to the airport? So what, they don't have to park their BMW in a garage for 4 days while they're out of town on business? And we're taking money from the people who don't have a job that's affluent enough to go out of town on business. We're taking it from people who are working in drive-thrus. We're taking it from people who are working at daycares. We're taking it from hospital orderlies and construction workers and radio talk show hosts. I'm talking about the poorest of the poor. And we're giving it to the people of Plano so they can have a more convenient ride to the airport. And check this out. In the report, they say, you can get there in maybe even an hour. Well, that's how long if you took a car. Anyway, listen to this. This is great.
They are setting up for a weekend of parties at every stop along Dart's new Silver Line, a 26-mile regional rail service that spans Plano to DFW Airport. 10 stops, 7 cities, 3 counties. They predict you can get from this Shiloh Road station out east to the airport in under an hour. Dart CEO Nadine Lee tells us this is more than a celebration of new transit options. They are a celebration of regional collaboration, economic growth, and the bright future of North Texas transportation.
One thing to note about this setup is each one of these trains has 2 cab cars, 2 coach cars, and the engine module is right down the middle.
Each of these vehicles seats 220 people and 485 people total for those sitting and standing. And they'll run daily between 4 a.m. to 1 a.m., arriving in 30-minute intervals during peak hours and hourly during the other times. They are set up for what Dart says is an exciting day. A day long talked about, long planned for, and what could be a victory for mobility across DFW. In Plano, I'm Jobin Puniker.
Yeah, it could be a victory for mobility across Plano. Yeah, we could also just get hit by a meteor walking outside to your car. And look, that was so inane. 26 miles, 10 stops. You're making a stop every 2 to 3 miles? You're bragging about going 26 miles in under an hour? Oh my God, bro, if you were in a car, you could make it there and back in under an hour. 26 miles in under an hour. That's a brag? You could damn near take a bicycle. Lance Armstrong can make it from Plano to DFW Airport in under an hour on a bicycle. And it was just one bad idea after another. Each train's going to have 2 cabs and 2 coaches. How do you know? How do you look? They say it'll fit 220 if everyone's sitting down. If you want to count standing room people, 485. Will there ever be 485 people on there? What if you have the trains that are 2 cabs and 2 coaches and it's never even half full? Do you take one of the cabs and coaches off? If you need to do that, then wouldn't that make the 2 cabs, 2 coach a bad idea? How do you even know how damn big the train's going to be when you don't know what the ridership levels are going to be? Your estimates? You're going to go from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. So there's only going to be 3 precious hours where you're not flushing taxpayer money down the toilet on trains no one's riding. And if you're like, James, why are you so harsh? Why are you so skeptical? Come sit where I'm sitting. We're down here by the AAC. We're on the AAC property. Right next to us, across the street, is one of the big train stations where people stop and get on and get off. And I have to sit here like one of the greatest libertarian nightmares of my life and watch just empty trains pull up. The doors open. No one gets on. No one gets off. Then the doors close and the train leaves. And a few minutes later, another empty train comes up. And it's like the Truman Show. They're just like running these empty trains just so people think that they're getting things done. Whenever you see these DART trains going by, look, see how empty they are. And so they're bragging about how this could be the next bright future of, how could this be the next? We haven't had one bright future thus far. Every train line they've tried has been a miserable, embarrassing failure. The ridership levels never reach the estimates. The revenue never reaches the estimates. The expense far out exceeds what the estimates were. You were promised there'd only be a handful of employees, less than 100 employees. They got like 3,000. You say it. You were told when this was passed that the fares would cover all the salaries of the people that work there, or at least half. It doesn't even cover 10% now. You were told that DART would never be allowed to take on debt, and so there wouldn't be this recurring interest expense that just gets bigger and bigger every year the more that they fail. No, they have billions in debt for DART that you're having to pay for now. Now they want to expand this from Plano to the airport. Yeah, let's do one of these horrible ideas that fails every time it's tried. Let's make one all the way to Houston. Wouldn't that be great? No, it wouldn't. They're slow. They're inefficient. They're expensive. People get a little stabby. People get a little shooty. They get a little handsy. They get a little rapey. It is a terrible, terrible standard of living that I don't know, people say I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. You know what? If you were my worst enemy, I wish you do have to ride DART every day. That's the hell I hope you have to live in. I'm thinking of 2 people right now. They're not listening to the show. I wish they were. I'd say their name. Yeah, there's people I hate. I hope you have to ride DART every day. I had to ride DART for a while. It was terrible. I never had more of an incentive to get off my butt and save my money to get a new engine block for my stupid Geo back in the day. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. It was a Geo. Laugh it up. So, yeah. Well, we have the bright new future of DART. Here's my prediction. The ridership predicted is not going to live up to it. The revenue is not going to live up to it. It's going to be more expensive than anyone ever thought. And you're not going to have anybody on any of the local news media, whether it's the TV or newspaper or whatever, come back and say, damn, we were wrong again about every single DART project that's ever been open. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. This is the James Show game show where I'm going to list 10 celebrities and your only job is to tell me if they are either dead or alive. Today's category is singers in the 60s. Today's prize, tickets to see Seether and Daughtry. They'll be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory November 11th with special guest POD. For more information and tickets, the rest of us are going to have to go to livenation.com. Or if you want a chance to win a pair of tickets from us, text the word broken to 800-288-9227. But someone waiting on hold is going to get a pair from the James Show right now. You want to do ladies first? Of course we do. Yes, I was going to do it anyway. We like ladies, and we're just kind of sucking up here. Hey, Michelle and McKinney, you're first up on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yay! Yes, I am.
All right. How confident are you in your knowledge of singers in the 60s?
Pretty confident.
Okay, because this is a weird overlap. You've both got to know singers in the 60s and be interested in seeing Seether, Daughtry, and or POD, so this will be fun.
It'll be awesome.
All right, number 1, Bob Dylan. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
84 years old. Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, he just died earlier this year. John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival and The Big Lebowski, dead or alive?
Alive.
80 years old. Good call. Otis Redding, dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, he died in 1967, just seeing if you're paying attention. Art Garfunkel, not Paul Simon, the other guy. Art Garfunkel, dead or alive?
Alive.
Oh, my goodness, you knew that one. Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane and a couple other bands we'd like to forget, dead or alive?
Dead.
You're doing so well. She's 85 years old. I know.
Oh, I did pretty good, though.
Yeah, you did great. You got through the first 6 of them, and I don't know, then you caught the white rabbit. See what I did there?
Yeah, that's where it goes. You have a good day.
All right, Mandy in Frisco, you're next up on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. There is a band called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Crosby, is he dead or alive?
We'll say dead.
Stills, is he dead or alive?
I'm sorry, who?
And Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Stills, is he alive, dead or alive?
Alive.
You have no idea who I'm talking about, and you just guessed, didn't you?
Sure did.
Okay. All right. For number 9, there is a rock group from the 60s called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Nash, dead or alive?
We'll say dead.
No, Graham Nash is alive. And there's only one more left. So after we spent all this time with the ladies, now we're only stuck with dudes. What's up, Rod in Decatur? You ready to steal this episode of Dead or Alive?
I think I'm going to do it. Got one left. I can do it.
Well, you probably know who I'm going to do. There was this rock band in the 60s called Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Neil Young, dead or alive?
Alive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You did it. That's all you had to do, Rod in Decatur.
Sweet.
Are you claiming the tickets, or you want to pass them along, or what?
No, I'll take them. I love doctors.
All right. Well, then we have a very happy marriage here on today's episode of Dead or Alive. Is it time to give up on the Dallas Cowboys football season? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Let's ask my next guest, John Ingham. He does the morning show over here on WBAP on the weekends, part of our media crew for Cowboys coverage, and a little more optimistic than I have been, but after the terrible game we saw this weekend, are we ready to close the curtain on the 2025 season and have our Sundays back, or what, John?
Well, we're certainly not optimistic. We're certainly not happy. We're certainly not in a good mood. I'm not willing to close the curtain just because what else are you going to do? I mean, it's not like I'm going to go quilting or go to the library or anything else. I'm still going to be at the games and work the games and watch the games and still hope that things can get better. But I'm afraid, James, the only way that they can get better is to probably get rid of about 9, maybe 8 or 9 guys off of this defense and look to the future. Because right now, man, it's really tough to watch. Well, it really is.
When we get to the point to where we're sort of halfway through the season, this used to be a much easier analysis when we had 16 games instead of 17.
Yeah, it's weird now, right?
Yeah, but when we're sort of halfway through the season and we have a losing record, the idea that we're going to make the playoffs, I mean, is disappearing over the horizon.
No, there's no way. I mean, as good as the offense has been, which they're the best in the league, the defense is the worst. I mean, they rank in the bottom in every major category. And if they're not butt naked dead last, they're in the bottom 3 in all the major categories. And, you know, when your defense is giving up more than your offense can score, then that's easy math. But, you know, I've told you many, many times, it was unrealistic to assume that Dak and the offense could keep doing what they're doing. That's just not realistic. Nobody could do that. And to tell them that they're going to have to score 40 every week, well, even if they had scored 40 yesterday, they still would have lost by 4, right? So, right. I mean, you just can't do that. And this defense is – Michael Irvin had a tweet or an X or whatever the kids are calling that stuff these days that just simply said, who is this? Who are these guys wearing Dallas Cowboys uniforms on this defense? Because they're clearly not NFL players. And look, I mean, 3 of the 4 starters in the secondary yesterday were 3rd and 4th string guys because 3 of the 4 were hurt. And really, I thought that would be the mantra coming out. That would be the narrative, especially from Mr. Jones. But it wasn't. I mean, nobody made those excuses, but that is the reality of it. But I don't even blame them. I blame the defensive line. I want to play a game with you. Do you know how many, not sacks, Do you know how many hits the Dallas Cowboys defensive line got on Bo Nix yesterday?
Oh, I haven't even seen this stat. I don't even know how to guess. 4?
Lower.
0?
Higher.
Okay, 1.
1. They got 1 hit. They hit him. Yeah, thank you. They hit him 1 time. That's unacceptable. I mean, you could probably take a really good college team, and they may not could beat that, James, but I think that they could match it. I mean, that's pitiful.
Well, look, I've heard the rumors here that the defensive coordinator's on the chopping block, and you would think, okay, well, yeah, if you have the worst defense in the league, that's probably the guy that needs to go. But would they be the worst defense in the league without all of these injuries? Because if your problem is injuries, it seems unfair to blame the defensive coordinator.
Well, but that's the thing. It's not just injuries. I think that that's part of it, but it's the players, it's the scheme, it's the coaches, it's the front office, it's everybody. And you can look at the Cowboys since 2021, I think, have spent, I want to say 12 draft picks in the top 3 or 4 rounds on defensive players. And only one of them was that wasn't considered a reach by those in the know. Was Micah Parsons, and he was the player of the game last night for the Packers, and so you don't have anybody on the defense, and that's just a failure at all levels. And it's not really Matt Eberflus's fault, other than the fact that he keeps wanting to run his scheme, and these players cannot run his scheme. That's not what they do. He wants to run a zone. They're a man bunch, and so he's got to do something different there. I don't think that it would be a good thing right now to fire him, simply because they've had 3 defensive coordinators over the last 21 months. And so that's really not going to help. Now, DeMarion Overshown's coming back, but he's only one guy, and that could be the equivalent of putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound at this point. And so things could get better, but I just don't see how, James, because the schedule is about to get much harder. The next 2 games are winnable games, but I don't even know if they can win these 2. And once you start playing Detroit and Kansas City and Philadelphia again, it's going to be really hard to have a winning record. And like I've told you from week 1, I would rather win 3 or 4 games, get a better draft pick, and look to next year. And so full circle back to your original question, maybe it is time to close the curtain. I just can't do that.
We're talking with John Ingham from the WBAP Weekend Crew, and I really hate the fact that there's so many injuries, because I don't feel like we're getting a good evaluation of this team. Because if you don't have a whole lot of injuries and your team is dog water, then you need to clean house. But on the other hand, like, how much of this is Jerry's fault? Because I feel like, a year ago, didn't we have like DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons on our front line? And, this would be almost a completely different defense if you still had those 2 guys.
They would certainly help. I mean, Micah's the best right now. If the voting happened today for NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Micah would win it in a landslide. In fact, I don't even know who would come in second. DeMarcus Lawrence has had an outstanding season in Seattle, and not only was he a good player, he was the leader of that defense, and he could get the guys motivated. He could get in their face and they would respond to that. They don't have that guy anymore. So yes, there are some fingers that could be pointed to the front office, but missing on as many defensive players draft picks as they have, I think that that's the biggest failure of the team, more so than the injuries. I mean, 3 of the 4 starting secondary guys were out. You've missed some linebackers, but how good were those linebackers anyway? How good were the defensive linemen anyway? And so, you can talk about things like that, but I think that it's more of a failure on taking reaches on players that you probably shouldn't have reached on. A lot of times, James, you've got to swallow real hard with those high picks and take the best player, or who you think is the best player. And they might have done that, but I also think that they got a little cute at times and tried to reach on guys. And, Mozzie Smith was an outstanding athlete. He still is an outstanding athlete. He just hasn't been a very good football player. And that's happened time and time again. And until they change that philosophy, I don't know what is going to change with the team and the outcome as far as wins and losses are concerned.
All right, John Ingham, what do you think about Tim Collishaw, the Dallas media legend, who says, here's his theory, we should trade George Pickens, or the Dallas Cowboys should trade George Pickens. He's having a hell of a year. You're going to get a lot for him, and you probably can't afford to pay him in the offseason anyway, so you might as well cash in that chip and maybe get some draft picks, and then let's go rebuilding with the Micah draft picks and the Pickens draft picks, and that'll be a good way you can turn this around. What do you think about that?
Well, that's certainly something that I think that the front office people should look at. I don't know whether or not they could sign him. Here's the thing, James. Right now, the only position group that they can say is the best in the league besides Dak is the wide receiving corps. That scares everybody. And, CD Lamb is an all-pro. George Pickens is playing like an all-pro. You get rid of him, and all of a sudden they become pedestrian too. And so you're significantly weakening your best position group. Now, maybe the argument is, well, look at the results right now. It's just not happening. And so if you could do that, Tim's right. If you can get good draft picks, then go ahead and do it. If you don't think you can sign him, if you do think you can sign him, go ahead and do that, because you've got other players like Trayvon Diggs. He's done. They put him on injured reserve before the game on Sunday, and so he's going to miss the next 3 weeks. He wants to be out. I think the Cowboys want him to be out. He's probably their best corner, one of the best in the league, so he still has some trade value. There are some other packages that I think that you could look at doing. I don't know that I would move any of those first-round picks right now, because why would you? I mean, after what happened yesterday, there's really no point in it. Had you won yesterday, then maybe so, but I think that you're just going to see more of the same for the rest of the season. So this year's probably a wash. But,
Gotcha.
If you can get more picks for those guys, then, that's something that you definitely need to look at.
All right, good stuff. That's John Ingham, WBAP weekend host on The James Show. That's going to do it for our time. If you need more James Parker action in the next 21 hours, go find the podcast. Coming up next, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.